This is a Your Farm Business podcast with Mike Krause of P2P Agri.
I'd like to welcome Lisa Jeitz for our next podcast, and it really excites me to talk with her because she's someone who's really been putting together really good farm business management practices in her farming business, which is in Esperance, and I'll let Lisa introduce herself more than with that. And she also comes with a background of working early in her career as a farm business management consultant for an accounting firm, Birds Cameron in WA. Lisa, welcome.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate the invitation and the opportunity to speak with you on your podcast.
No, that's great, and I know we'll probably reciprocate. Lisa, can you just give me a little bit of background on your career up to when you became an actual farmer?
Yeah, well, I'm a farmer's daughter and I studied ag science at UWA. Then I got my first job in Esperance as a nutrition and disease agronomist. So I did that with a group of individual farmers, a self-built group, independent group, for 3 years. And then I moved to the accountant's firm to do business management consulting, which is really where I fell in love with numbers and budgeting and the economics of farming. And so I did all of that for 10 or 12 years before I moved to the farm with Kirk. And we started having a family and I stepped into the office.
Wow, so you obviously saw a number of different farm businesses in that part of your career, and that didn't put you off becoming a farmer.
Quite the opposite. I found it super inspiring. Esperance is a place of great opportunity, and everybody from Esperance is new because it's such a new land farming region, and the enthusiasm and creativity and willingness to try new things was absolutely inspiring. So no way, I was ready for it.
That's wonderful. Now just tell us a little bit about Esperance and farming in Esperance and your business, really, so that we know the listeners can put it in context.
Yeah, well, we're a cropping operation, which is super common. There's probably more all croppers than mixed crop livestock in Esperance nowadays. We've got 6,500 hectares of crop, which is actually medium size in Esperance. Probably around 2,000 hectares is a standard block. So if you had a single block nowadays, you'd probably be on the smaller side. And there is a great number of properties that are 20, 30, 40, 60,000 hectares plus. Yeah, we're not the largest by any means. But we are 100% crop and have been since about 2000 when we decided my husband and his family decided to let go of the sheep. And we would say that we are high performance croppers, so we're looking for yield and pretty high inputs.
Pretty high input in that. Just to give the listeners a bit of background, Esperance is pretty much in a gifted area of Australia that you get probably sometimes too much rain rather than not enough rain, and you can grow quite a variety of cropping.
Yes, we are known for being extremely reliable on the rainfall, touch all the wood that there is. We do get a reasonably high percentage of summer rain, so managing the soil moisture over summer by summer spraying is super important. And as we've managed that and kept the green bridge dead over summer across the district, yields have risen and disease burdens have lowered, so that's pretty high priority for the croppers.
Fantastic, that's great. Now, just to switch our discussions more to budgeting and how you run the farm office, what are the important budgets that you utilise to continue to manage the business?
I personally find cash flow budgeting the most important, because we run as a company structure. It's actually the law that the directors need to ensure that we're solvent, which means that we do have the funds available to pay our bills as they come due throughout the year. So it's actually against the law to find yourself without enough money to pay your bills. So that's why my cash flow is my top priority. And I monitor that on a regular basis. Fortnightly would ideally be when I do a budget update once I've reconciled, but I can't do everything. There's a lot to do in the office. So I definitely reconcile monthly, and then at the very minimum I do some financial reporting and report back to the stakeholders in the business every second month, so that they can see visually in a printed report where we're at. And I print out all their favourite reports. So the things that my husband and parents-in-law ask me on the regular basis, I make sure that goes into the printed report. So I feel like I'm getting ahead of them a little bit and providing the information before they ask.
So that would predominantly that'd be a 2-monthly meeting at home where we've got the major stakeholders around the table. You're reporting on cash flow plan to actual and what's happened.
Yes.
Do you bring any other budgets into that, or it's more on an annual basis? You might bring in gross margins and profit and loss and balance sheets.
On an annual basis, then I would do a really thorough suite of gross margins for each crop type. Now, we're lucky, it's simple. We do wheat and canola, and for a long time it's been 50-50, so I don't have as much work to do there. And as soon as you bring livestock into that, gross margins for livestock are much more complicated. And I appreciate that I do have it relatively easy in that department.
Would you do... A lot of farmers might do gross margins for planning, so you're planning what canola might be doing this year and what different cereals might be doing. Do you actually turn around and do actuals at the end of the season?
Yes, definitely. It's super important to do the actuals, otherwise I don't know if my gross margin figures are any good. Like if I might be way off on my gross margin, and then how do we make a good decision next year if I find that my last year's planned gross margin was absolutely rubbish. So I definitely like to do that. And then I keep a long-term spreadsheet of like your consultant might do, the price I get for every crop for every year. So I've been tracking that for 20 plus years. Obviously the yield across time, and then the costs in dollars per hectare of every input on the budget line. So when I'm doing a budget, I like to use, and gross margins, I like to use somewhere between a 5 and 10 year average cost per hectare for all of my budgeted lines, so for all the crop inputs as well as the overheads. Yeah.
So that gives you a good basis to do your projections for.
Yes. Subjective memory would be that I spent almost nothing on most things and everything was really cheap. So we know that's not true. I need the facts. So and then sometimes it's more important to get the recent costs. So insurance has gone up so much, so I'll definitely use somewhere on the 5-year average of that, and then sometimes a 10-year average might be more appropriate, but at least I've got a really good basis and I can say why I chose a cost for a particular line. And it also keeps it real for us. So Kurt can say, Lisa, you are spending too much on wages in that area, or I can say, Kurt, honestly, you thought because we got all that new equipment that repairs would be down, but let's have a good look at this. They've actually gone up year on year 20%. What's going on?
Right. So you're really keeping a close track of those key cost items. During the year, one of the challenges we have, I guess, is commodity price fluctuations, and I suspect you guys do a bit of a mixture of forward selling at harvest, selling post-harvest, so you're keeping a pretty close eye on all that, I would expect.
Inputs are our biggest expense, and they vary and fluctuate enormously. So where at all possible, we will price them as early as we can, lock them in and order them to try and put a fixed price in the budget. Then we've got something to work with when we're pricing our crop. And I always like to have some crop priced 2 years in advance, whether that be a cash contract or a futures contract. So we're always looking at opportunities going forward, and I usually put a target in place for $400 plus for wheat and $800 plus for GM canola, and have those in place with my grain marketer as far out in the future, so if that one-off opportunity comes out, they can grab it for us and I don't miss it. And then we feel like that gets
take some
run on the board, so it gives us a starting point, and we can feel confident that we've got that first handhold on the ladder.
Yeah, that's great. Now, you pulled $800 for canola out and $400 for wheat. Is that based on a cost of production sort of assessment you've made, or is that based more on historical prices and things like that?
Make a profit at those two prices with our crops, with our operating system. So I know that I can confidently, even 2 years in advance, when I haven't done that cost planning yet, I can make a profit at that price and not feel any discomfort.
Yeah.
Helps me sleep at night.
That's great. Look, that's quite unique, because what you've done there is you're saying I'm profitable at those prices. I'm not. Usually a cost of production looks at where profits are zero. And so you don't really want to aim at them, because you're going to end up with zero at the end of the year. But we should be aiming for a price that's good, that puts us in a profitable position, so that we know that we've got a viable business.
A true technical gross margin allows a consultant or an agronomist or economist to compare different businesses with each other. I understand that, so when I did that professionally, that's what I would do. But for myself, I'm not comparing with other growers. I'm assessing my own needs. So a gross margin would include all your variable costs for that crop. I actually cost in my overheads, my drawings, wages, machinery payments, tax and profit. So there might be a better word for that, but I still call it a gross margin.
Right.
So what does it...
So you put your own margin on top of the gross margin. So when we're looking at that target price, we know we're actually locking in a profit.
Covering all the needs of the business, and then I'm setting a price that will include a profit for me. So that's important for me for decision making.
That's great. So that's one of your KPIs. Are there a couple of other KPIs you watch apart from just what's happening in the overdraft?
That's important. So I want to be in the black overall. And we spend a lot on machinery. We like a new modern fleet. We like the latest technology, and we think we're early on the uptake of new technology. We like shiny new things, so it's very tempting to spend too much on that. So I monitor closely that our machinery finance is less than 10% of our gross farm income. That's my... it's something that I... that's a personal that I got from
benchmark
traditional
you
year in, year out type of KPIs, and it does work for our business, so that's a limit. We don't buy new stuff if we can't keep it under that lid, or we have to sell some stuff to try and keep it under that 10% lid.
Right.
So that's a really important one, and it helps put things in perspective. Then when we are buying some new technology, we need to know that technology can pay for itself. Yep.
Right. It's not just because it's bright new paint. It's actually got to pull its weight in the business before you guys say, yep, that's for us.
The cost is going to pay for itself over, a 1 to 5 year period, or we're going to need to fit it inside that 10%.
Right, okay, keep it into that. And I guess that brings out, there's two different principles I see farmers adopt. One is, we're not going to go for the new stuff, we're going to go for second-hand and we'll look after it. Other people like you guys say, no, we're going to buy new, we want the latest technology. I guess one of the attractions in that is that you get efficiencies that come through.
Yeah.
And one of the things is timing, I guess, and hopefully the new machines break down less often than the older machines.
Kirk's got amazing gut feel for the timing of operations, and that is probably the one key driver of our success is optimal timing. So a lot of our machine decisions and operation decisions are based around the optimisation of timing for whatever that application might be. And that's pretty big topic of conversation and thought and energy in our business.
Right. Okay. Well, then that leads me to something else. Would a KPI in your case be water use efficiency calculations?
I look at them retrospectively and keep a track of them. But we have very wet years and very dry years, and our yield is actually very stable and growing year on year. So it actually doesn't it doesn't give us much information. On a dry year, our water use efficiency is unbelievable, and on a really wet year, it doesn't get any better. we can have wet droughts. If it's too wet, we'll actually reduce our crop yield. So it doesn't track that well in our personal situation.
Okay. And I guess that's one of the things about water use efficiency. We tend to, it's about water, and if you've got too much water or excess water and you're not utilising it, and therefore it could be a negative impact as well on that measurement.
In a major way. There wouldn't be, I don't think that there's any ground in Esperance that could tolerate deep ripping. That it hasn't been done. It's that popular, and that allows for really great drainage, and it gives the roots a bigger bucket to draw from in a dry year, and it gives more oxygen in a wet year. So that's really, really useful here.
Okay, so the deep ripping is really to help with drainage rather than in some areas it might be clay incorporation and things like that.
Cutting through the compaction layer, it's been most effective.
Right. Just changing the subject a little bit, coming back to budgeting, some of us tend to be driven by our tax compliance work, and so we've got to do our BAS, we've got to do the tax return every year, and we just rely on the balance sheet being in the tax return and the profit and loss being in the tax return. But you and I know the background is that really we should turn that into management profit and loss and management balance sheet.
Yeah,
is that something you would do annually when you come to review how the business has gone?
Statement of position, way more than I would ever look at a profit and loss. I don't bother producing a profit and loss out of my software at all. I consider that an accountant's tool, not a farmer's tool. I like to look at growth in the business, not including land price growth, because that helps me measure what did our operation generate profit improvement, Yep.
rather than
I just
riding on the
about
back
keep
of
two,
increasing land values, saving our balance sheet.
Because you do need to increase the land values over time, because otherwise you go flatline for a while and then you have a big jump up and flatline for a while. So I've almost got two running where I do put what we consider a realistic land price increase every year, and then another one is just without the land price increases in it.
So you actually
that's right.
run a pure ruler over
Did
your
we do a
management
good job of
ability
managing
rather
the assets that
than
we've
what's
got?
happening with the land
But
values
return
around.
on capital is negligible, so that's not much fun, and return on investments not much fun. I like to
equity and things like that. Is that
like
something
to
you
keep
look at,
equity
Lisa,
above
or is it's a
80%.
hard number to get up,
That's important
and
to
so
us,
we
even
don't look at it?
It's very difficult with land expansion at the moment, especially in Esperance, because our blocks are around like 1,100 hectares would be a small block in Esperance. So to add that chunk on at current prices, it's a very big number. So to expand, you're going to have to go below 70% into the 60s. And that's pretty painful. But I might need to reset my mindset if we're going to expand.
Right.
I might have to wear that for a while and go through the pain.
Yeah, well, actually, that's interesting. What budgets would you do if you're considering expansion?
A really good 1 and 2 year
What
budget.
do you look at there?
Then I'll do a more loose 5-year budget, and I do use P2P because that's really great in rolling out quickly. It doesn't take much time to prepare that 5-year rolling budget going forward. And I do like the traditional year in, year out budget, which is a style of calculation that's been around for 30, 40 years, and
for a long time.
That's relatively easy to do, and it allows you to do a far out look at what the operation might look like, assuming that you have paid down some debt, you have paid down some machinery, and it gets you past that initial growth phase. Are you going to be profitable?
Right.
Once that initial hump has passed, and it uses some well-founded assumptions that have been around a long time, so you don't need to get too wound up in the detail.
Sure. So obviously look at financial capacity to do that, ability to repay loans is required. Do you look at return on assets managed to see if it's a more of an efficient way of running the business? Or is it more looking at future generations, we want a bigger farm to pass on so that the next generation has...
Because if you stay the same size and time goes on, you're actually going backwards. I feel that strongly, it's a philosophical point of view, I guess, you need to be moving forward, even if it's in a small way. Otherwise, growth in the economy will take you over, and you'll actually end up going backwards, and your business will diminish. So there does need to be forward growth.
Right. Yeah. I guess we should have started... I'm going to ask you another question, which I haven't briefed you on, but if we start with the end in mind, and really the end in mind is why are we farming? What's our vision? What's our mission?
It's a really tricky...
Is that something that you guys have developed in your business?
At the moment, Kirk's parents have retired, and they still love to see what we're doing on the farm, and they are involved every week. But Kirk and I are the drivers, and our kids are in their late teens, and our 2 children are very keen to come back to the farm in time, but they're still very young, so they're not able to share the risk with us yet, and then they're not on the ground with us. So at the moment, it's very much providing Kirk and I with personal and professional satisfaction. So expansion isn't our main priority. We're just trying to farm the best we can, push ourselves technically, try new things, and we get great satisfaction out of that on a daily basis. So that's our why at the moment. And then probably when the kids come back,
Fantastic.
that might change. It is big enough to be really efficient, and we're actually trying to get more profit out of the area that we've got just at the moment rather than expanding. And unfortunately, Kirk and I are perfectionists, so we like to do everything we put our hand to really well. So that's kind of what we're focused on at the moment.
I think that's a great strategy, Lisa, and something that other farmers can take, because I do see farmers want to expand before they've really got the management pretty sharp on their own business. And
Yes.
the best way of earning more income is actually using the assets that you have better, rather than expanding your assets when you're not managing them as well. So to me, that is pretty fundamental that we should all be looking at, utilising the assets that we have as best as we can. So I really applaud you for that, but also encourage others that are listening that that's a great strategy to take on.
In
One of the challenges we also have is, are the kids... Oh, sorry,
know
Lisa, you've got another
Esperance,
idea there?
well enough to comment on this. It might be the same in other regions, of course. Land is really hard to come by, and it's highly competitive, and prices, land moves quickly prior to going onto market, and it's difficult to secure it if you did want to expand. So people are moving very far away and splitting their operations, and that would work really well for some people, but Kirk and I have looked at it many times and it just wouldn't work for us, because we value optimal timing so much, and we would be very upset with ourselves if we couldn't achieve that optimal timing. So having to travel so far, or have two sets of smaller, less ideal equipment, or relying on staff further afield wouldn't suit our management style. So it might be holding us back, but we're also waiting for the opportunity to get something closer. And hopefully it would be ready when that occurs. But it is a lot of personality, style and preferences that go into these decisions.
Yeah, you did mention about the kids coming home. Are they definitely coming home, or we're giving them enough wings to fly around the economy to work out whether that's what they really want to do?
To work in other places. We'd really prefer they don't come home till after they're 25. We've told them they can't come home till after they're 25. And we'd really like them to get some kind of qualification that interests them and work for other people, so they see what other types of businesses are, work in big and small business, have different bosses, learn different ways of being managed and managing people. These are things that we would have liked to have learnt more about ourselves, and I hope we've made a good decision to encourage them to do that.
Well done. No, it's always hard to work with the next generation, because you need to work out what their desires and skills are, rather than to force them to say, you're going to have to be doing this business for the rest of your life.
Just because we like it. We really understand they may not like it, and there's plenty of room for that.
Lisa, the final question I wanted to talk to you, I want to put you on the sand till 10 years ago, and all the financial systems you've got in place now to manage, to do your planning and reporting. Is there anything you're doing now that you felt like you should have been doing 10 years ago?
Maybe expanded a bit quicker and taken more risk earlier, because price has gone up in an extraordinary steep slope that we didn't anticipate. We thought we had plenty of time to grow and consolidate, but that's hindsight. I can never get that one back. I couldn't have. I don't regret any of the decisions I've made, but maybe that one.
No.
If I had the crystal ball, would have been good.
What about in your farm office? Is there anything you're doing in there now that you wish you perhaps would have implemented 10 years ago, or you've come with a wonderful background to farming? You had the tools in your bag all the time.
Forward planning techniques as far as strategy and time management recently. I think I would have done much better had I had that earlier. But technically, with budgeting, gross margins, assessing the numbers, analysing the comparing operations. I've done a lot of that, spent a lot of time on that, and I do not regret that. I probably did more earlier because I didn't have any gut feel to go with, so I used the numbers to develop my instincts, and now I can do that less frequently and sleep well at night because I've developed a really good grounding and understanding of that. So if you're early in your journey in the office, don't regret and don't skimp on doing the numbers thoroughly and keeping the records. Like, I've got a really great spreadsheet of yield over time, costs over time. There's no gaps in it. I've worked hard to make sure that they were completed every year, so that I've got a really good bank of information to go back on. I'd never regret that.
So really, I guess the golden nugget of the toolbox is knowing your numbers and having confidence that the numbers are correct that you're using.
Things to be accurate. And Kirk started calling me Charlie from Clarkson's farm. Because I can be painfully annoying, but it does allow for really great, quick decisions because of the data available.
Yeah, and as we talked about before, timing is everything when it comes to agronomy, and it's probably a lot of things when it comes to business decision making as well. So, no, that's great. Lisa, I think we've covered really a lot of ground today. Thank you so much for letting us come into your office and just experience how you run your operation. It's really inspirational. Thank you very much, Lisa, for your time, and I hope everyone out there has enjoyed their time.
Thanks for inviting me to speak, and I hope someone's got something out of it, and best of luck for your season.
Thank you very much, Lisa. This is great. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Your Farm Business podcast. For more information or to get in contact with Mike, simply search for p2pagri.com.au.